Up now, Brad Loomis. 292 pounds on the bar for him. He is a master one lifter.
Yes. Woo!
That was a good lift. Way to fight through.
Alright gang, so strategies for gaining strength while cutting, improving muscle while in a weight loss phase. Training periodization. This is the fun part, in my opinion. And really, I like programs that focus more on training than nutrition, etc. Regardless of the phase, whether it's a bulking, lean gaining, cutting. I really like focusing on training. And so this is my favorite part. And hopefully I don't get too long-winded and stay on task. So what we're going to cover here is, again, kind of my strategy in relation to, I don't really even know, what to title it, but, in relation to, I guess, traditional maybe, or maybe ideal, or I'm not really sure how to title this. Ideal weekly periodization, and then, I guess another term would be kind of traditional. Okay, traditional or ideal. And then compare that with kind of my approach. Okay, so before we get into that, I want to really cover something that was very valuable to me, having a coach. Okay, I mean, really, to be honest with you, it's asked quite frequently. If you're a coach, why do you need a coach? And while I really truly feel like I don't necessarily need a coach per se for like nutrition, because I am I'm very easy to please. I'm not real complex. However, having a coach for programming has been really a godsend to me, because no longer do I have to worry about the phases of periodization and progression, etc. And then likewise, I don't have to look for a program that exists that's got the ideal periodization and the progression. I have somebody that does that for me. I just follow it. Okay, so that to me has been really an important strategy for this, and I think it really applies to a lot of folks that are in their intermediate to advanced years of training. Anybody that's got a training age of say 1 to maybe 10 years of experience under their belt, they can just probably follow a very cut and dried, kind of a cookie cutter type, periodization with a good progression plan built in over the course of weeks and weeks, months and months, and years. However, having a coach has been pretty invaluable to me in that a lot of those cookie cutter programs I don't feel like work for me very well, simply because I've been in the gym for so long, for 18 plus years now. Okay, so yeah, that's been. I want to make sure I outline that right off the get-go. Is how important it's been for me, having a coach. So let's kind of go over traditional periodization. First, we'll do weekly periodization. Okay, the red line, that's intensity. Okay, load on the bar, in other words, and then we've got volume. Okay, which is your reps and your sets, and then in relation to your frequency, as well. So not going to quantify any numbers here. Again, just kind of outline basic structure. Okay, so here we've got weekly periodization, week 1 and week 2. Okay, if we evaluate, strictly intensity, load on the bar, and no numbers, just this basic structure. You can kind of see it starts out the week high, okay, heavy loads, and then it kind of goes down at the end of the week with lighter loads, okay? And then in the second week, you start it over again. Heavier loads, lighter loads, okay? And I guess I should probably outline, but we'll get into progression here in a second. But for the most part, you want these lines to be gradually going up so that this peak is higher than this peak and this valley is higher than this valley. Okay, progression. We'll talk about that here in a second. Now on the flip side, the purple line, that's our volume, okay, our reps and our sets. So when intensity is high, you purposely kind of keep the volume low and then you switch it so that volume comes up and intensity goes down. And then again, you start the process over again. Volume is low, volume is high, okay? So we've got the relation of periodization, from week to week to week. Now let's kind of go over traditional or ideal periodization in the monthly format. Here we've got our 4 weeks in the first month, 4 weeks in the second month, 4 weeks in the third month, okay? Sorry, it probably just looks a mess on your end, but hopefully I can make sense of it. So again, here's the red line. Week 1, we're coming out of the low intensity phase. Beginning of second week here, high, low. Third week, a little bit higher than last time, a little bit higher than last time on the low, less intense portion, etc., okay? Now as we move into month 2 here, you can, hopefully this is pretty obvious. You can see these peaks, the intensity is much higher, the loads are much higher as compared to this month here, okay? We just kind of ramped up intensity there, making the loads higher. Then on the flip side, you can see with volume, okay, during this second month here, we almost purposely brought volume down to like almost nothing, like a couple sets, 1s, 2s, 3s. Very heavy loads, very low volume, okay? So this could actually kind of be deemed like an intensity block where we purposely make loads heavier, okay? Then as we move into the third month, we'll flip that, okay? So you can kind of see now this first week here, intensity's way down and it's dwindling. And then look at what's happening to the volume. We're ramping that up, okay? So now we've got lots of volume, but not a whole lot of load, okay? Once we finish that block, we'll basically come back over, start again, okay? And then hopefully these lines here will be a little bit higher as we go through our phases again. And this is monthly periodization. Again, you could do almost bi-monthly periodization where you run 2 months like this, okay? Month like this, 2 months like this, 1 month like this, 2 months like this. You get the idea, okay? I'm kind of rehashing stuff that Eric Helms has already gone over, but in case you haven't seen those videos, it's important to touch on. So now, what we're going to do here is I'm going to kind of go over how the periodization looked using my open format, okay? And so in this one, this was basically, the checklist that I've referred to in many of my blogs, where my coach gives me the work, I just check it off as I go, okay? So now, what I did is I looked at my old records and I plotted the points, basically related to high intensity, where stuff was like 80, 70, 80, 90% of my 1 rep max, mid-range stuff, which was like 50, 60, 70% of my 1 rep max, and then low-end stuff, which was like 50, 60%, okay? To be honest with you, I don't think I ever went that low, but you get the idea. So now, if we connect the dots, so to speak, here we've got the end of this last week here, and going into the next week, you can kind of see, I'll connect those. And then you can see basically what happens, okay? We still get the periodization, where we've got high intensity, low intensity, kind of middle of the range intensity. Same thing here. High, middle, low, high. Bit of a break, I guess you might say, where I didn't do something there. Took maybe a 3-4 day rest, and then hit it again kind of mid-range. So you can kind of see, I just kind of naturally did what we know works, Okay? And then keep in mind too, with the monthly periodization, much of that is in control of the coach. The coach is going to look at what I did, and then he's going to program my periodization according to how I perform and in relation to blocks of training away from my competition. Okay? So now, let's see. I guess I better do volume first. This could be a little bit tough. Hopefully it doesn't end up being a big mess. But let's first go volume, okay? And we'll connect the dots here. So we've got the end of week 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the first month. Week 1, 2, 3, 4. That's the second month, etc. We connect the dots. Here's volume. And actually, I'm getting ahead of myself. I didn't go over volume on the weekly periodization. I'll do that real quickly, but you can see it's pretty much the same thing. Kind of middle of the road volume. Volume is high, volume is low. Kind of comes up a little bit, comes up here, comes back down. You get the idea. Same basic periodization or look is there, just less programmed. Now let's go over the monthly, okay? Here's volume. There's week 2, moving into week 3. Here's week 4, looks very much the same. Now as we move into week 1 of the second month, you can kind of see volume is starting to kind of build, okay? Here it kind of peaks a little bit, and then it kind of comes down. Except I missed one of my dots, but you get the idea. Okay? So there we've got kind of volume. It's lowish here, kind of ramps up to medium. It's high, and then it kind of comes back down. Okay? And then on the flip side, let's look over monthly periodization here as far as intensity, that load on the bar. This is where things could get kind of messy. Middle of the road, especially if my pen dies. Now here's, intensity, pretty light loads, during this month. But then you can kind of see going into the second month, things are kind of building a little bit. Little lull here, and then lo and behold, when volume is the lowest, what's happening with intensity? It's really getting ramped up, okay? If I recall correctly, as I was plotting these, I think this was about my peak, about 2 weeks or so from my meet that I did. But you can kind of see, and we've got our weekly periodization, ideally, and how I followed it, and then same thing here. Here we've got, medium-ish loads, medium-ish volume. Then, right here, intensity kind of comes up a little bit, volume kind of stays the same, but then we bring intensity down and go into this volume phase here, okay? And then drop the volume off, bring the intensity up. So we've got traditional, and then kind of just how I executed it ended up kind of being the same way, okay? Now keep in mind again, this would be kind of, traditional programmed. You would just follow, what the template said basically. Here, a coach is actually controlling where my intensity and my volume is going. But nonetheless, when you finish a block of training, a 3-month, 4-month block of training, you want to end up having these lines be moving up the scale where there's progression, okay? So now, that kind of brings up an important point here. I'll have to adjust my camera like so, but why progress, okay? So first of all, with powerlifting, it's a no-brainer. We're trying to get stronger. We're trying to improve our numbers each and every competition. But say you're a bodybuilder, okay? Is strength really that important, okay? Yes, it is. If you're not getting stronger, what is your muscle doing? Well, let's look at human physiology as it normally is. Who here today is older than they were yesterday? Everybody right now watching this should have their hand up because you're older today than you were yesterday. You're older this week than you were last week. and you're older this month than you were last month, and you're older this year than you were last year. Let's look at the traditional untrained elderly. What do they look like? Do they have a lot of muscle? No. The body's physiology is such that you're burning muscle. Every single day you're burning / losing muscle. So that old moniker, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backward, very much applies to muscle. So if you're a bodybuilder, you need to work to be stronger and stronger and stronger, progressing, making these numbers slowly higher and higher and higher. That's the only way that you can ensure that you're maintaining muscle, much less growing muscle. All right, guys and gals, hopefully it's pretty understandable. It could be a little bit confusing. My board is very messy. I apologize for that. But hopefully I can at least outline how we want to periodize things and basically how important planning for not only periodization but also for progress is. All right, not moving forward, you're moving backwards. It's not enough to just do the same weights, the same reps every week without some form of planning, okay, and progression, especially the longer you're in the gym, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35 years, okay? All right, thanks for watching. I hope you really enjoyed this series. This is my last video that I'm recording. Possibly the most important, but again, all of them were very, very important in my evolution of gaining strength / muscle while cutting / dropping fat. Thanks for watching.